ba 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 na na ba ba.
Hollywood is unoriginal and they love money. Now there are movies like Anomalisa and Inside Out that do something new and innovative. It's kind of getting that whole golden age of animation started again. But then there's movies like Minions that completely ruin that. Anomalisa is brilliant, and it's without a doubt my second favorite film of the year. Inside Out is not a great movie in my opinion, but I will give credit where credit is due. It is trying something new, even if it doesn't always work. And it has tons of redeeming qualities, like emotional moments and great jokes. There's certainly a lot to like in it, and if someone were to think it's the best film of the year, I would really have no problem with it. I guess the difference ultimately is that these two films tried. These films don't have the luxury of brand recognition, unless you want to count the Pixar logo. These films had to be great films to stand on their own and get the recognition they so rightfully deserve. Minions didn't have to do that, because it had minions in it. When you're certain your film is going to make money, there's no reason to make it stand on its own. Unless you hire a bunch of talented people who really want to keep the franchise going. The problem is no one with any modicum of talent worked on this movie. Everything from the writing, to the acting, to the animation is so horrible, it makes me want to vomit. Literally everything is wrong with this movie, and there is nothing redeeming about it, other than the fact that it did indeed end. These minions are a plague on our nation, and this company, Illumination Animation, is probably the worst thing to happen to the world. So let's start with them. Illumination Animation. Illumination Animation is the second worst company making feature-length animated movies today, other than the people who made Norm of the North.
Someone's coming. Act natural. Not that natural.
Every film they've ever put out has been insipid, pandering garbage that only serves to make people more stupid. The only difference as time has gone on is the drop in quality. The first Despicable Me movie is fine. It's not a great movie, it's not a bad movie, it's just fine. Some jokes are good, some aren't. The minions were there to be cute. They helped market the movie. It was harmless, it made money, people liked it, and that's it. Next, they made Hop because they felt there needed to be an Easter movie. So they made a movie with the Easter Bunny in it. So yeah, it was a marketing trick. You have a movie for Halloween, you have a movie for Christmas, you have a movie for Independence Day, you have a movie for Martin Luther King Day. Now you need a movie for Easter. Listen to this brilliant plot synopsis. On Easter Island, a young rabbit named E.B. is intended to succeed his father as the Easter Bunny. Intimidated by the calling's demands and ignoring his father's orders, E.B. runs away to Hollywood to pursue his dream of becoming a drummer. E.B.'s father sends his 3 ninja royal guards, the Pink Berets, to find his son. Meanwhile, Easter chicks Carlos and Phil plot a coup d'etat against him to take over the Easter organization. Need I go on? Next, they made this steaming pile of shit called the Lorax, which probably made Dr. Seuss turn over in his grave. A film about the dangers of greed, pollution, and capitalism has over 70 different product tie-ins, with car companies and 7th generation disposable diapers. That'd be like if Taco Bell sponsored Donald Trump. I don't know. Then they made Despicable Me 2, which is one of the worst things I've ever seen, maybe. The level of laziness in this film astounds me. The movie honestly couldn't give less of a shit. The animation is terrible. They keep recycling the same elements, often reusing backgrounds and props just because they were too lazy to make new ones. Even a weaker Pixar movie like Monsters University has some fantastic animation and loads of originality when it comes to creature design. Then you start to realize what Illumination Animation is doing. The simplicity of the animation in all their films isn't a stylistic choice, it's because they're lazy. Their movies are actually really cheap to make when compared to DreamWorks or Pixar films. They don't care if their films look good, and they stick to that simplistic animation not only because it's cheaper, but because it makes the characters look cuter. When I draw a simple smiley face, it's adorable. Look at it. It's so cute, I could stick my penis in its mouth, but if I start adding detail to the face, it starts to become less cute, until it looks extremely terrifying. By not caring, they have managed to make characters that the general public responds to. Aww, look, they're so cute. They're cute because whoever designed them was like, whatever. Most of the movie's just filler. It's just jokes that aren't funny or don't make any sense. Random Minion shenanigans, just stuff. The movie got bad reviews, but the movie did do well financially. and we all know why that is. I saw this in a theater, and every demographic of people were there. Old, young, black, white, Nazis. The interesting thing is no one laughed the entire movie. I think I heard a little kid chuckle twice, but no one seemed entertained by what they were watching. So why were they there? Illumination realized no one gave two shits about Gru or his daughter or the story or the entire franchise. They just wanted to see the Minions. It was then announced that they were making a Minions spin-off because fuck it. Sure enough, it grossed more than $1 billion total. Good job, America. They no longer need any of those characters, any originality, or any plot, really. Because if they put Minions in a movie, people will watch it because it has Minions in it, no matter how bad it is. That's why I'm making this review, because this shit has to stop. You people aren't watching movies. You're literally watching 91 minutes of filler. 91 minutes! It's almost the minimum amount of time a movie can be and still be counted as a movie.
Trying to find like a story, a structure, and normally at the end of that year we have a script. And from the moment we have a script, we start storyboarding, meaning translating the written words into little vignettes, like drawn vignettes, and all that across 3 years. And what 3 years gives us, actually, is the gift of time. It's like we go in a direction, we see the movie in terms of those little vignettes put together, and then we see that the story it's not working that well.
Comedy. I hear this all the time. Comedy is very subjective. To which I respond, no it isn't. What makes you laugh is subjective, sure, but comedy isn't very subjective. Comedy's pretty easy to explain, actually. If a fart makes you laugh, you can acknowledge that it did indeed make you laugh, but you can't call it a clever joke. When you listen to like comedians talk about their craft, you realize that there is a very specific science to making people laugh. Also, I don't like to hear that excuse, Ralph, it's just a kid's movie. Just because it's a kid's movie doesn't give you the excuse to not give a shit. You know there are kids movies that are good, kids movies that are well written, kids movies made by tons and tons of creative people who put in hours and hours of painstaking hard work. So there's two things the Minions are known for in terms of comedy. Surrealist comedy and silent comedy. Let's look at two other animated movies that came out that year that did what Minions tried to do. Shaun the Sheep and Spongebob Fish Out of Water.
Sponge.
The Spongebob movie is a surrealist comedy, and Shaun the Sheep is a silent comedy. Got it? Good. Let's look at Shaun the Sheep first. Shaun the Sheep tells that story entirely through visuals. None of the characters speak the entire movie other than complete gibberish. And while I won't say this is a great film, it's certainly a competent one. The animation is creative and funny. I knew what was going on the entire movie, and the movie does indeed, shocker, have a story. I saw Shaun the Sheep in the theater, and there were a bunch of little kids in the theater, and not once were they confused about anything. Now, let's look at Minions.
Minions have been on this planet far longer than we have. They go by many names. Dave, Carl, Paul, Mike.
In the first minute, they already fucked up. They have a narrator for no fucking reason. 8 minutes total of the narrator explaining everything when it should be told visually. But I guess it's too hard to do that. Who's the guy that's narrating? Is he a character in the film? Does he ever come back in the film? No, he's just here in the beginning. Because the animators and the writers are too lazy to get this information across in a creative way. So just do this.
The Minions had no other choice but to keep moving.
So then after 8 minutes, the narrator goes away, and that's it. Then we're introduced to the three main characters. Kevin is the leader. Stuart has an ego, I think, and he wants to be well-liked. Bob is weak and fat, but ambitious. Okay, those are our three characters. And as the narrator explained to us, they want to find a new master. Kevin's like, we need to go find a new master. And Stuart's like, oh, people will like me if I do this, so I'll go up. Bob wants to do it just cuz. Then Kevin's like, I don't know if I want Bob coming because he's weak and fat. Then eventually he gives in, he's like, oh, okay, fine. So right there, this is an interesting conflict. We have a guy who doesn't know what he's in for, a guy who wants to help but can't because he's not very strong, and a leader who doesn't really think either of them are very competent and doesn't want either of them to come. Then a minute after this scene, they all stand on a hill. Bob is a little nervous, even though he really wanted to go. Then Kevin encourages Bob to go, even though he didn't want Bob to go. So we're 5 minutes into the movie, and we have 3 very simple characters, and they're not even consistent. Then overnight, they go from the North Pole to New York City. They find 3 coveralls just hanging there that fit them perfectly. Then we sit through 5 minutes of characters just walking around doing nothing. There are no jokes going on. There's no character development going on. It's just scenes of minions walking around the city. Bob gets lost because the guy confuses him for luggage and puts him in the taxi. Then Bob gets out, goes into the mall, which I think they reused from Despicable Me 2. Then the TV turns on, and this seems like a good opportunity to make fun of television at the time, make fun of the ridiculous game shows and the ridiculous commercials, but instead we get this.
Have you decided which of these 3 gentlemen you'll go on a date with? Is it Bob,
Yeah, go, Bob.
Kevin,
知らねえ、Kevin.
or will it be Stuart?
Oh, yo, Stuart.
So what's the joke? So now comes the fantastic hitchhiking scene. I managed to compile all the funny jokes for you in this scene. Are you ready? Yeah, that's right, there were none. Then there's a continuity error. Like, where to go? Like, there's a continuity error in a fucking animated movie? It takes 2 seconds to drop that into the frame. So now let's talk about the Spongebob movie, because the Spongebob movie, the new one at least, is a great example of surrealist comedy. Nothing makes any sense in this movie, but it manages to be funny because it's so absurd. This movie's stupid, but it knows it's stupid. They time travel, there's a space dolphin named Billy that has a rap number at the end. It becomes a live-action superhero film at some point. Antonio Banderas is a pirate. When the Krabby Patty formula gets lost, it turns into Mad Max all of a sudden. There's a point where a film gets so absurd that it becomes funny. Minions tries this and completely falls on its fucking face. Here is some of the hilarious, absurdist humor in Minions. They like bananas. One of the minions becomes the King of England. This minion falls in love with 2 fire hydrants. This minion wants to be a guitar player for some reason. And that's it. This is the point where I stopped taking notes because I got so bored. It starts to become hard to understand what the jokes even are. So now Bob is the King of England because he pulled the sword out of the thing. And then the movie just forgets what the point of the movie was. And it just becomes a montage of them doing silly things while they're king. Their motivation was to find a master though, not become the king. They already had a place where they enjoyed living and could do whatever they wanted. But they left because they felt miserable and they wanted to serve a master. That was the point of the movie up till now, remember? It's just scenes of minions doing things. That's the best summary of this movie I can think of. It's a series of scenes of minions doing things. The animation. This is an example of a film that is over-animated. I think everyone can agree that subtle humor is always more funny than obnoxious, obvious humor. Unless you're a baby or a retard. This scene from Shaun the Sheep. Will always be funnier than this. This gives me a fucking headache. It's loud and obnoxious, and by the time it's over, you realize you got absolutely nothing out of it. Any excuse to have an awful musical number with a bunch of colors and a bunch of shit flying around the screen. And each time it happens, a little more of my soul is stripped away. It's an odd thing because no matter how ridiculous or insane the animation gets, and it does get pretty crazy, they never use their animation to tell the story. I don't know anything about Kevin other than he's a leader. I don't know anything about Bob other than he's kind of weak. I don't know anything about Stuart other than he wants to play guitar. Maybe we do need some more quiet moments to really flesh out these characters, and I know they're minions. But as of right now, they're just really boring. I can barely tell them apart. It's time for the Minion name game. Okay, so now we're gonna play a game of Guess the Minion. I have a list of the Minion names right here, and I'm just gonna, they're gonna put the picture up for me, and I'm gonna guess which Minion it is. Okay, I think that's Josh, because Josh is the fat one. Okay, I'm correct. Is that Larry? No. I think that one's Darwin. That one is the guy from the movie. Fuck. Kevin. Ken. How the fuck is it Ken? That's Kevin. God damn it. How the fuck am I That is... Phil? Shit. Fuck. Is that... Larry? No. That one... Fuck. How... David? Nope. Carl. Oh, David was that one. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Nothing happens the entire movie. The plot is the minions look for a master. Scarlet Overkill seems like a good master. She betrays them, and then they murder her. And that's it. Most of the movie is just fucking boring, because nothing of consequence is happening besides this. The animators tried desperately to throw a bunch of stuff into the film to pad it out, since the script is almost non-existent, but like I said before, it ends up being too much. They make Kevin 50 feet tall just cause. Why hasn't Scarlet used this technology earlier? Why wasn't this established earlier? I don't know. There's this rule you learn in Screenwriting 101. If you have a gun in the third act, establish it in the first act. If you're gonna use a piece of technology that makes you 50 feet tall, then establish it in the first act. Even the Despicable Me movie does this, with the fart gun. But this movie doesn't waste its time with that, cause fuck it, it's for kids, right? Then he eats a missile, blows himself up, and now he's small again. Why? Oh, fuck it. Fuck me for thinking. Then they reward the minions for putting a tyrannical dictator in power, causing millions of dollars in property damage and killing thousands of people. So, at the end of the day, no one learned anything, none of the characters changed at all, and the whole film was pointless. There is no moral, there is no lesson. Now, there is something I do like about this movie. It's violent, it's cartoony violence, but people do die, people are hurt, and it's violence nonetheless. The villain isn't some pussy, she actually threatens to kill the minions, but they couldn't really follow through with all the violence, and they toned it down a little bit. Do you know why? I hate these people. I don't blame this film for these people existing. I do blame this film, however, for catering to these brain-dead idiots. They only serve to ruin movies for the rest of us, and make kids dumber. Their philosophy is that kids' minds are too feeble and innocent to see violent images. So kids' films can have no messages, no clever commentary, no violence, no scary themes. They discourage people from seeing brilliant movies like the Lego Movie and encourage people to watch garbage like this.
Hollywood pushing its anti-business message to our kids. First, it was the Muppets movie. Remember, they used an oil baron as the enemy. A year later, it was the Lorax, casting environmentalists against anyone who dared to create a new business. And, well, now it's the Lego Movie with the villain named President Business.
The Lego Movie is literally the Gnostic gospel, right hidden in plain sight.
Well, I think that when you have movies based on characters and you're trying to find a villain within those characterizations, oftentimes the head of a corporation is an easy target.
Why?
And an easy
Why is the head of a corporation where they hire people go to work, they pay their rent, their mortgage, they put their kids through college, they feed their families, they give to charities, they give to churches. Why would the CEO be an easy target?
And now Minions is being used by Satan to mind control your children. But that is just because you don't even understand how the Bible works. The Bible is very clear that Satan is extremely subtle. They go to these shows and have no idea that it is in fact satanic mind control for their kids.
Ripping children's heads off, stabbing them. Blah.
Hollywood, it's all about the bottom line. So they will hire a Republican star like Sylvester Stallone or Bruce Willis if they think that they can carry a movie and make money. What is the the purpose of trying to indoctrinate kids in a movie? I mean, I guess they believe this movie is going to make a lot of money, so no matter what, they can embed these kinds of anti-capitalist messages and get away with it.
Dressed up like a werewolf, raping and killing children. And I bring this up because this is what all elites end up doing. Raping and killing children dressed up like a werewolf.
But one of the things they didn't like about this movie that I actually like is how violent it is. See, the fact that it is violent actually adds some stakes to the story. And of course, parents took this the wrong way. Stories do indeed need things to keep people invested. One of the things these kinds of films establish is a threat. With no stakes, why should we care about what happens? So, as much as this film caters to that demographic, the amount of violence in this movie turns these people off. And that's when people start to overthink this very dumb movie and start seeing it as a threat to their child's feeble young mind. In the Minion movie, I see a spiritual battle. I see the enemy creatively disguising evil for cute and making it palatable for the next generation to not only accept but like. I believe that from a biblical perspective, evil is never cute, and we shouldn't laugh at all times. To quote the Bible, which all put on the whole armor of God to over this being present darkness about movie decisions against the spiritual for which you can extinguish all the flaming. After we watch the Minion and all sorts of for we do not wrestle against the flesh and blood. That we against the rules. When I shared with women that judge against the follow that gut instinct. What the fuck are you talking about? These parents are literally nut jobs.
At the start, you have the Egyptian symbolism. They're actually even building the pyramid here, so you see the Eye of Horus.
It's these kinds of parents who ruin kids' movies. They want to sanitize the shit out of them until they're literally nothing but a bunch of colors. Besides the violence in it, Minions is a perfect example of what these PC police are turning films into. Nonsense. Even kids' films like The Incredibles can teach you new terrifying things about the world. It's important that a story have danger, because that's what keeps a child's mind involved in the story. And it's not too hard for kids to handle. Kids need to feel that kind of shit. It's like how when there is a car accident on the road, you can't turn away. You know it's bad, but you want to see what happened. When you remove any semblance of danger in a story, it just becomes boring, and it makes your kid think the world is a perfect place, full of butterflies and rainbows. He learns nothing, and he grows up to be a brain-dead retard. I remember having a friend whose parents were very strict about what he watched. They didn't let him play games, they didn't let him watch R-rated movies, and he grew up to be a boring asshole. He had nothing to talk about because he hadn't experienced anything in his whole life. His parents didn't let him experience the world. And as a result, he has the mind of a 5-year-old. He's a loser. I was sure to ask this guy what he thought about the Minion movie when he saw it, and he said this: "I saw it last week with my family, and it was funny. It's probably my favorite movie I saw this year. I like that part where he hypnotized the guards to dance." And then I asked him, "Ralph, why are you talking to yourself?" The characters. The most important element of an animated film besides the humor are the characters. This is something Pixar and DreamWorks excel at. Even if their films aren't that good, they still manage to make some iconic characters. That's because they want to sell toys, I know, but they're good characters nonetheless. All of them have a unique look, a unique voice, a unique personality. A character like Randall will always stick in my head, not just because of the performance, but because of the way he looks. Just by looking at an image of him, you can tell what he's all about. That's the wonder of animation. I can show you any number of images from these movies, and you can tell me what their character is, just by looking at them. You don't even have to see the movie to understand the character. You know everything about James P. Sullivan just by looking at this image of him. I don't know if you can do that with Minions. Minions are too simple of a design to do anything with, and it's hard to tell them apart. What can you tell me about this Minion? How about this one? How about him? What can you tell me about this girl? Or this guy? Not a damn thing. I doubt anyone wants a Scarlet Overkill toy. She's just there because the movie needs an antagonist. And because they needed to throw in a movie star like Sandra Bullock. It's not because they wanted to create an iconic character. So visually, all these characters are poorly designed, but what about their personality? All the characters are broadly drawn and simplistic. There's this whole video naming the Minions in order, and I can't tell any of them apart. Even the video fucked up. That's not Bob. Bob has 2 eyes, and he's shorter. Not that I blame you. How the hell are you supposed to tell? The filmmakers are stuck with such a simple design, and concept, they can't do anything with it. It's getting old. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Minions were adorable at one time. In small doses, that's what a Minion does to you. It makes you go, aw, I like that feeling of awe. And believe it or not, I love cute things. I follow Doug the Pug just because I like cute images of dogs. Look at this one. Hold on, look at this one. Aw, wait. Ah, look at him. Oh my god, this one's my favorite. This one's my favorite. It's adorable. Look at him. Oh, he's eating the ice cream.
But it gets old real fast.
Now Minions are everywhere, and we are all sick of them. They're not cute anymore, they're not funny anymore, it's old. Despicable Me came out in 2010. They've been milking these things for 6 years. They've got toys, video games, they're featured in 3 feature films. They have a bunch of shorts, they're featured in the logo of the company. They have their own ride at Universal Studios. They're on shirts, towels, apps on your phone, jewelry, Legos, pajamas, mugs, Tic Tacs, sunscreen, shoes, heels, duct tape, costumes, diapers, backpacks, bed sheets, cereal, headphones, phone cases, Funko Pops, holy shit! And I guess there's people out there who still like Minions, mainly babies and just dumb parents. But am I the only one who's just fucking sick of seeing these things? I have a feeling these guys are on their way out, and by the time a Minions 2 or a Minions 3 comes out, or a Despicable Me 3 or 4, or whatever the fuck they decide to do, everyone's just gonna kinda be like, you know. That is unless they try, which they won't, because no one at Illumination Animation ever tries at all. It's not like I want this company to go out of business and I want people to lose their jobs. I remember Michael Bay said once, you can say whatever you want about the Transformers films, but they do keep a lot of people employed. Like, if you're defending your movie as a piece of art and you say that, it says a lot about the film you made. The people at Illumination Animation can continue to make tons of money and make more Minions movies, but at the same time be creative and funny and actually give a shit about what they're making. It's a complete waste of time. Even when you watch the most simplistic things like Thomas the Tank Engine or Barney, they do teach kids things. It's something kids need. I think the biggest thing this film is missing is any sort of connection with the audience. The film is pandering, and as a result, the audience kind of feels disconnected from it. While tons of people saw this movie, not a lot of people liked it. Some people fucking hated it. Even kids hated it, because kids need something more. When a kid feels an emotion, a connection with a character, or a story, or anything in a film really, that's when they make the transition from a worthless idiot to a person. They build empathy and a personality. That's the magic of film, especially to a child. They can make you feel an emotion for things that aren't even real. They aren't even made to look real. That's because of wonderful writing. A room full of inspired creators that want to give kids that feeling of terror, wonderment, excitement, and raw emotion before they grow up. Before they become desensitized to the world around them. That's the power these films had on me as a child. I'm not saying there isn't room for dumb fun. Minions isn't dumb fun though. It's just dumb. The problem with Minions is it doesn't make you feel anything. The audience wasn't happy, or sad, or angry, or anything. It just exists. It exists so they can make commercials for it, so that you can pay money to see it. Films aren't made just to exist. Films help form you as a person. They certainly helped form me. I don't know where I'd be without them. That's magic.